the first FWA works on a very similar but different model, right? I had a belief that there was a group of wrestlers and a style of wrestling that would draw in this country to a select group of people, right? There weren't enough people currently at that point in the UK industry. If you look at, we were pulling in James Tyers and Jack Xaviers and Raj Ghoshis, people who right now wouldn't be on the main shows, not because they're not good enough, but at that point they were rookies. You know, if you look at FWA British Uprising 1, our groundbreaking show, the first match was 3 of our trainees. Like, it was a big, and that's one of my favourite matches still to this day, and it was a real gamble to do it. But we had to choreograph that whole match from start to finish because it was like, to show why FWA is different. I mean, it was the first time 3-way chain wrestling had ever been done. Like, to show why it's different, we had to make sure it's choreographed and scripted. Nowadays, we won't have to worry about that because there are so many good wrestlers in this country. So we were ready to take a product to a group of, say, 1,000 to 4,000 smart fans in this country who loved wrestling and wanted to see it done properly. Does that make sense? Now, but we couldn't take it to a television network. We couldn't take it to people who watch WWE or TNA, because they would look at a Jack Xavier and go, well, he doesn't look like a wrestler, right? So that was like almost the FWA model version 1. It was not about a rebellion against the old, it was just about good wrestling. It's the first time it'd been done. Good wrestling's been done to death with the audience now that's already in the bubble, but the business model is to get all those people that are in the bubble involved in some way, shape or form and say, right, now we've got an industry, let's fucking knock on the door of the mainstream. You know, let's actually bang that door down and say, you know what, British wrestling can be as good, if not better, than WWE. We might not be able to give people the same production values or massive arenas, but our guys can do just as much, you know, just as impressive stuff. And our guys do it for, you know, they're not on multi-million dollar contracts, which in some ways makes these guys want a break. They want to be recognised, and it's British wrestling to me is sometimes like little man syndrome, just like indie wrestling is. It's like, right, we can't main event the Pontiac Silverdome, but we're going to do a match that you're not going to see Triple H doing. So I think now the reason it's different is we're not, even by the very nature of jobs in wrestling, if we were trying to cater to just that small hardcore niche, we wouldn't be offering jobs to people who could be buying tickets. We want to do this now in a way that's actually going to hit the nation and say, look, there's an industry here. There's opportunities for sponsorship and marketing and branding, and that couldn't have been done before because there just wasn't the plethora of talent that we have now under contract.
I mean, I think it's interesting you say that, because certainly one of the other things I've heard said about this new FWA is that, you know, whereas in 2002, perhaps because it's mainly led by the WWE, in fact, in 2002, the main audience for wrestling maybe was that young adult market, maybe the internet community of fans who the FWA was aimed at, whereas now in 2009, perhaps with kind of your John Cena type superhero figures, we've moved more back towards the cartoonish era where the main fans are 8 to 12. So I'm wondering whether, you know, the FWA could survive in 2009, targeting the same fans it did in its first run.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can target both. For example, Marilyn Manson is a good example. You know, when I was growing up, I listened to Marilyn Manson. Probably why I was quite, you know, a miserable teenager at times. But there were two types of Manson fans. There were the Manson fans that understood the music and thought it was cool, and they were adults, or like, you know, people in their early 20s. And then you had the kids that wanted to be cool and wanted to wear Manson t-shirts because that was the cool thing. It was the in thing, the rebellion, you know, the rebellious children that want to be cool. If something's good and it's marketable and it's cool, it's going to sell. Whether it sells to 8-year-olds or whether it sells to 28-year-olds. I'm not saying that we should have such a broad target audience that we just devalue everything, you know, water down everything we do. But I believe if we just make good wrestling that's non-offensive but cool at the same time, which is possible to do, then we're going to get all those people anyway. And actually, I think our audience, you know, you can sort of look at where there might be a demise in a sort of smart audience. Tell that to TNA. TNA is a wrestling alternative to WWE. Right, so they've just sold out Wembley Arena. Okay, I know they scaled down the venue, but that was a very successful tour for them. If we can even get a smidge of that audience, that's good enough for us. And ultimately, we want to move into. I mean, you know, the FWA is a shop window, which we'll talk about in a minute, for the Grapple Group, which is an agency, and we got some guys who, you know, there's guys on our roster who, you know, I think I could see on Hollyoaks or, you know, Hollyoaks, anything like that. You know, so it's not just about. It's not just about the wrestling. It's about the marketing and the branding and the sponsorship and all the different opportunities that these guys deserve if pushed properly. I think.
So in terms of the wrestling, then, are you saying you still think there is enough of a fan base within that original FWA fan base to market more at them rather than focusing, say, on local leafleting in the
Oh
places
no, totally not out. No, I mean like even the FWA office where we're doing this interview, there's boxes and boxes of leaflets and flyers for Broxbourne. One of the deals that I can't really talk about. It might be announced by the time this interview goes out. But one of the deals we've just done is a national show deal basically, and so we're not looking to just there are a few things we're doing. We've got, for the first show, we've got 5 different coach loads of wrestling school students coming down, so it's going to create a different atmosphere. But those shows that we're doing at Broxbourne are our marquee shows, but the idea will be to do like house shows and other things eventually. But it's all about doing a marquee show. We don't, and when I say marquee, I don't mean smart marquee, I mean a marquee show. Those shows will be the very best British shows that you're going to see, pound for pound, in terms of production, crowd interaction and stuff. They're just going to be really cool. And I think we've got to start. Obviously, we've got a business plan, but the first bit is to actually get those shows right and make it cool again. And I think everything else will sort of fall into place.
All right, I want to move on. I want to talk about some of the people who are involved in the product. It was one of the first things that was announced when the new FWA was announced online, and I know, again, it created an awful lot of buzz. So let's just talk about some of the people who are involved. And I think the name that stands out for many people is Gabe Sapolsky, obviously with his background in first ECW, then Ring of Honor, now Dragon Gate. What will Gabe's role be in terms of, it's been announced he's going to be on the booking committee, and will his involvement inevitably mean more imports being brought in for FWA shows?
No, I mean FWA. Shall I tell you how the sort of Gabe thing came about?
Yeah.
We had me and Gabe, have got a good relationship in terms of, I think it's very easy to. I talk very fast. I would say I'm self-ironic. I think that's putting it over too much, but I don't mind. Ridiculing myself at show on radio interviews. You think, well, you don't really, but if you see me at seminars, I'm a very approachable person. No one will ever come up and say, "Can I have an autograph?" And I say, "Piss off, I'm busy," or even give them a hint of attitude. I try, because I like wrestling fans and I like wrestling. That's what I do. If I didn't like the people in it, I wouldn't spend time around it. Wrestlers can sometimes be a little bit difficult to be around, but wrestling fans, I would say I'm more of a wrestling fan than I'm a wrestler, which is probably why I feel more comfortable around fans. So, but I know Gabe. It's easy to. The point is, it's easy to underestimate what I bring to the table or my intelligence when it comes to promoting, because it's like, well, do you know what I'm saying? I'm not. If I said, I remember I went to a meeting with a guy in the MMA world, and he once said to me, "For every word that's coming out of your mouth, I need one. For every 3 words that comes out of your mouth, I need one." Or so I think Gabe might have underestimated what I bring to the table until we did, and we had some heated words once before the Ring of Honor tour. After the Ring of Honor tour, he sat me down and said, "Alex, man, I'm really, really impressed. These have been awesome shows for us." And we had a real rapport. And when things started to go a little... When I had my suspicions that I was... Maybe the Ring of Honor deal maybe wasn't going so well, as it's turned out, it's happened. It's exactly the same thing that happened to Dragon Gate. Gabe was one of the only people that said to me, "Look, I feel really bad about what's happened and stuff." And so we had a good relationship there. So he's doing his thing, we're doing our thing, and it works perfectly hand in hand. He's got guys over there. We've got guys we want to send to the States. He's got guys he wants to send to England. Whether or not they appear on... we're really saying that what we'd really... If we were going to do... We've discussed him sending Dragon Gate USA matches, putting them on FWA shows. It's been discussed, nothing's been confirmed, as a guest match that would be released only on the Dragon Gate DVD. But we don't want to get to the situation where we're building storylines around Americans that are just there. We may, there's a chance that maybe we do a big one-off show and we do that, but we don't want that to, because it's not completely sustainable. And as I found out last time, it can only work for so long before the bubble bursts.
So what about in terms of booking? What's Gabe's role there?
Gabe, the first way that you'll know that Gabe is really having an effect is on the website. There's going to be something called the Sapolsky Report, and his job is going to be to review each monthly main show we do. Now that's so that the fans can sort of see what he thinks, but also so our wrestlers, because bear in mind we are an agency. We want we want Gabe's feedback, and if it's public, I said to Gabe, he said, "Are you sure you want this? Is this a good idea? What if I think something's rubbish? Say it's rubbish." The audience, they're smart, they'll know it's rubbish. You'll just confirm it for them. But if something's good and you say it's good, then it's got that seal of approval that helps us. And our business model is stems around selling those DVDs via the fan club.